The year was 1993, and GamePro had an unexpected April Fool's problem on their hands. Their nearest competitor, a scrappy and opinionated electronic gaming monthly, had already come out swinging with convincing cheat codes. One that unlocked Simon Belmont in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2, the arcade game, and another that introduced Sheng Long to Street Fighter 2. These immediately went viral and even got reprinted in foreign magazines, which was a big deal in the early 1990s. This forced GamePro to come up with their own April Fool's series, and the result was LamePro. That's right, LamePro. Instead of creating a simple parody review or cheat codes, they set their sights bigger. They decided to lampoon their entire magazine. I'm talking about a fake cover, fake news, fake advertising, fake previews, and even fake letters to the editor. It was a popular feature that remained a staple of the April issues well into the 2000s. But instead of looking at the entire run of LamePro, I instead want to chronicle the first 7 issues. Today we're going to spend some time dissecting LamePro in the 1990s, from its inception in 1993 all the way up to 1999. These were the formative years, and I want to go section by section and answer the age-old question: was LamePro brilliant satire or just plain lame? Let's find out. Taking inspiration from EGM, LamePro kicked off their first and second issues with exclusive fake codes in a section they called Snot Pro. That's a play on their usual code section, which was SWAT Pro. But don't expect Sheng Long, because they went a different route with their pranks. For example, in Super Mario World, to start the game, all you have to do is press the start button when the title screen comes up. Also, you can hold down the D-pad in any direction if you want to move Sonic. And hey, here's a good cheat code: insert the cartridge to play Bonk's Adventure. In other words, they reprinted the instruction manuals. 1 year later, they decided to go a different direction. Their 1994 prank was much more in line with what EGM was doing at the same time, telling gamers how to reset the Mortal Kombat 2 arcade cabinet, freeze up the Samurai Showdown machine, and unlock tubby political blowhard Rush Limbaugh in NBA Jam. This Glitch Pro section was much more involved, but I kind of miss the innocence of Snot Pro. Man, that's a phrase I'd never thought I'd say. Speaking of sections they had in the first 2 issues that were immediately abandoned, LamePro's 1993 and 1994 installments had 4 mostly unfunny top 10 lists. Actually, it wasn't even that elaborate at first. The 1993 issue both came with 2 top 4 lists, both basically making fun of overweight and unconventional-looking people. Mondu from Slaughter Sport, Toe Jam's Buddy Earl, Street Fighter 2's Blanca, and Chin Zin Shan from Fatal Fury 2 were all named the top 4 hot video game hunks. You saw the same joke play out in the top 4 video game babes, which featured Looney Tunes' favorite Ms. Taz, the shopping cart woman from Toe Jam and Earl, Mizrabel from Castle of Illusion, and of course the alien mother from one of the Alien games. If you watched our series of Electronic Gaming Monthly's Best and Worst Awards, you already know that EGM was doing the exact same jokes at the exact same time with pretty much the exact same people. Things improved a little bit in 1994 when they offered up 2 different top 10 lists. First, we have the top 10 rejected video game ideas, featuring yet another Rush Limbaugh joke, a Mortal Kombat parody starring a woman who cut off her abusive husband's penis, an anal-retentive version of Street Fighter called Neat Fighter 2, Romance of the Three Kings' Sons, and something called Night Trappist. Not a great punchline, but whatever. The top 10 alternatives to violent video games didn't fare much better. You could close your eyes when the bad parts come on, bash Barney, visit a friend, cut out paper dolls and yell at them, and yeah, even play violent card games instead. Okay, that last one's pretty good, but most of these jokes haven't aged well. On the topic of 1994, that was the year when LamePro first started making fun of their readers. They joked about gamers who were confused by the AC adapter, and Super NES conspiracy theories with Clueless in brain-dead Oklahoma. They even had a section for fake envelope art. But take a look at this letter from a very angry Chuck Stakes and tell me that this isn't the kind of unironic post you see all the time on Reddit. Why are people so upset about violence in video games? Video games don't make you more violent, and I'll kill anybody who disagrees with me. Yeah, reminds me a lot of the kind of comments I end up deleting on my reviews. Apparently, the editors didn't want to spend too much time mocking their fans, because this feature didn't show back up until 4 years later in 1998. The revised letter section saw Christian Slater making prison rape jokes, O.J. Simpson all but confessing to murder, Lara Croft frustrated that everybody keeps staring at her breasts, Saddam Hussein angry about violence in video games. And then there's Ted the Unabomber Kaczynski wanting a cut from Hudson Soft's Bomberman money. So again, to reiterate, 1998 brought us jokes about rape, murder, sexual harassment, war, and terrorism. Yeah, I'm starting to understand why they opted against fake letters for so many years. Things got a little better in 1999, but not by much. Once again, they decided to keep the celebrity names, though this time they included some fictional characters. Boba Fett throws a childish fit about Xenogears for some reason, Waldo doesn't care who Scary Larry is, and Electronic Arts is laughing like Nelson from The Simpsons at the fate of Thrill Kill. Remember Thrill Kill? It got cancelled and turned into the Wu-Tang fighting game after a bunch of controversy. We'll get back to that shortly. The real standout letter came from Ellen DeGeneres, who had just come out of the closet just a couple of years earlier. She's crushing real hard on Lara Croft. I love Tomb Raider 3. I love everything about it. I love its soft, luscious, curvaceous gameplay. I love its tender, yielding, passionate controls. I love the way it feels against my hands, gently weighted like two firm, Sorry, I love Tomb Raider 3. Yeah, don't forget that this was the same year that Electronic Gaming Monthly named Xena the best game for lesbians. Man, game editors really had a thing for lesbians in 1999. Believe it or not, only 2 issues of LamePro lampooned the news in the 1990s. Of course, part of this is because GamePro wasn't known for their in-depth news reporting, but it does seem a little odd that they would wait until 1998 before thinking about parodying what was going on in the industry. Either way, their stabs at fake news stories were only slightly better than their letter section, mostly just picking up low-hanging fruit. There's the story of Parappa the Rapper, killed in a West Coast-East Coast rap rivalry. There's the Quake add-on, featuring all new levels in the glens of violets, gooseberries, and English thistle. And don't forget about Chair Combatty, meta fighting game where you throw your furniture at your boss. Surely the news in 1999 was better, right? Well, that depends on how you define the word better. The big joke is that Sega revealed a new system that's even better than the Dreamcast, but Nintendo and Sony don't care. The kicker is called the Master System and is reportedly able to handle a whopping 8 bits of information at a time. They go on to make fun of the 32X and add-ons in general, which at least is better than Chair Combat. There were only 2 sections in LamePro that managed to be featured in every single year of the 1990s. One was the fake advertising, which we'll get to in a moment. The other was their short pot shots, which made fun of the regular short pro shots preview series. It's here where we see the editors of GamePro throwing everything at the wall in an effort to make as many parody games as they can think of, and they came up with a bunch. There were 43 of these parody games between 1993 and 1999. With some issues having as many as 12, and others posting as few as 3. Instead of explaining every parody, I want to just zip through each of the 43 jokes and put some of the less obvious ones in historical context. Let's go ahead and do this chronologically, starting with Virtual 52, featuring the 52 Edsel. with a screenshot that kind of looks like it was created in Mario Paint. Here's Fungus McGee's All-Star Bench Football. Sleep Fighter 2. Cows instead of lemmings. Where in Time is Elvis Presley. Stooge Fighter 2 Special Chump Edition. You're gonna see Street Fighter come up a bunch here, I think. Next is Barney and Butthead. Barney was a big whipping boy in the 1990s. Internal Champions instead of Eternal Champions. I'd play that. The Pink Panther became the Punk Panther. That's a reboot waiting to happen. Oh, here's Moron Combat 7. Jim Carrey versus Forrest Gump, which would be a real person versus a fake person? Also, is Jim Carrey a moron? I mean, Lloyd from Dumb and Dumber is, but now that's a fictional character, like Forrest Gump. Also, it's Carrey with 2 R's. Moving on, we have Primal Rave. Next up is Make Your Own Country Rap Video starring Dairy Queen Latifah, because those Make My Video games were all the rage back in the mid-1990s. Here's a rare arcade preview of Alien vs. Editor, which had more than 15 million moves on a 2-button controller. How'd they pull that off? We're in the 32-bit era, so don't forget about Hair Combat, which is just a big joke about Don King and Cher. Here's The Dark Knight with Bat Banned Forever. Also, Fridge Racer. Here's Bloated Special Limbaugh Edition, a parody of Loaded with yet another Rush Limbaugh joke. Virtuous Fighter 3 Nuns with Guns is a game I would definitely play. Pocahontas, the casino game. Tush Inden 3, no buts about it, which is already better than the real Toshinden 3. Rain Man, I'm an Excellent Driver game. A joke from 1996 about a 1988 movie starring an autistic Dustin Hoffman. Virtua Cop. Here's Picard vs. Kirk and Trekkin' 2, Captain's Flog. O.J. Simpson, Search for the Real Killer Golf Tour 96. Donkey Kong Country 3, Driving Miss Dixie. A joke from 1996 about a 1989 movie that I guarantee the GamePro audience had not seen. Moving on to 1997, we have Crushed Bandicoot, which is how I always feel when I'm racing against that damn boulder. There's Dork Forces, Shadow of the Pocket Protector, starring Geek Skywalker and Dork Vader. Soviet Trike is a parody of EA's long-running Strike series. They should bring that back. Scab the Pickable Assassin was making fun of Sega's Scud game. Nobody remembers that. Forrest Gump in Final Dumb 64, which at least had the decency of leaving Jim Carrey out of it. City of Fat Children, a parody of the game based on the brilliant French film City of Lost Children. Super Mario Kart Traffic Jam 64, which is basically Mario Kart on the 405 during rush hour. Here's Street Fighter vs. X-Men vs. the accounting firm of Dewey, Cheatham, and Howe, a reference to old Three Stooges episodes. And then there's Were-Gods instead of War Gods, where there are tons of moves for characters that can't be bothered to even show up. This is one of the few clever parodies we've seen so far. Moving on, we have Mime Crisis instead of Time Crisis. Spoon the Eternal instead of Spawn. Latrell Sprewell's NBA Punch-Out 98, because I guess he got into a lot of fights. Sports. Fighting Force became Biting Force, starring Mike Tyson, Marv Albert, and Christian Slater because, you know. Apocalypse When, a joke from 1998 about a movie released in 1979, topical. And finally, in 1999, we saw Saddam's Command and Cower, the colorful Rouge Squadron, Titanic 2, the Iceberg, a first-person shooter where all the bad guys are icebergs. And last but not least, Thrill Killed. Wait, didn't GamePro use that in the letter section? And on the front cover of LamePro? I sure did like that joke. I know you're thinking, that was a lot of parody games. You're right, but we're not even close to being done yet. If this is going to be a comprehensive guide of LamePro, then we're gonna need to talk about the fake reviews. The good news is that there were only 9 of them spread out between 1994 and 1998. The bad news is that none of them are very good. In fact, I'm pretty sure those reviews are here primarily to make the dumb previews look that much funnier. Take, for example, Jurassic Pork, the one and only review in LamePro's 1994 issue. It's not just a lazy parody, but the editors didn't bother to come up with anything funny for the already played out joke. Same with 1995's selection, which includes Sim California and Mighty Morphin Flower Arrangers. Just about the only thing noteworthy about these 2 reviews is the new face, which they decided to use no matter if the score was 1, 3, or 5. Just about the closest they get to an actual funny premise is Super SBPA RBI ERA Bases Loaded Hardball 395 Strike Edition. A silly joke poking fun at the many baseball games on the market, as well as the MLB strike that was going on while they were writing this. I wouldn't say that things got better in 1996, but they certainly didn't get any worse. Street Fighter Alfalfa is a funny play on words. Post Office Doom isn't that far off from Postal. And the fake parody game Pissed ended up becoming a real parody game called Pissed. Though don't use this review to help you make a buying decision. Or do, it doesn't really matter. I'm gonna be honest with you, it's almost not even worth going through the rest, but we've come this far, so we might as well see them out. Here we have reviews of WWF In Your Mouth, and Hick Warrior 2 Ghost Bear's Daddy. Yep, at least they came up with new characters for the ratings. I like the guy who hanged himself. Speaking of new ratings, that's pretty much the only thing good about the 1998 reviews. Star Wars Masters of Tiramisu and MDKFC. Do people even remember MDK and Masters of Terraskasi? Man, why are these reviews so lame? Before we close the book on LamePro, I first want to talk about the other joke that managed to run through every year of the 1990s. I'm of course talking about the fake advertisements, which were all over the place in quality and ambition. Let's go ahead and go through them one at a time. The very first fake ad was for the Brain Boy by AskMeWare, a play on the accessory company ASCIIware. It's a system or peripheral that hooks straight up to your brain and generates unlimited games. Not an especially funny joke, but I like the photoshopping. Though I think we can all agree that George R.R. Martin has seen better days. Next up is the TV VR, a totally interactive virtual reality headset with no messy cords or whining from the FCC. You basically fasten your head to the TV screen for extra immersive gaming. Yeah, that's silly, but remember, this was the era when game magazines thought literally anything could be VR. The 1995 advert is not only the most cutting joke yet, but also one of the funniest things in any of the LamePro issues. Finally, the editors of GamePro go after the competition. It's LamePro 2, a parody of the largely unnecessary EGM 2, which would later become Expert Gamer. We also get a nice picture of the GamePro staff, which we didn't see that often back in the day. We're back to virtual reality in the 1996 advertisement. Well, kind of. Amaze your friends with the Virtual Box, an easy to set up box that'll turn your game system into the next Virtual Boy. What's fun about this is that LamePro gets a chance to once again poke fun at the competition. Their pull quotes from Cry Hard Game Fan, EGM 10, Video Grimes, and of course, Game Conformer. What's a better name than Game Informer if you ask me? Speaking of meta jokes, 1997 brought us a fake 1-900 number featuring Scary Larry. For only $3 per second, you can hear why he's not reporting all of his wages, discover why he's a non-profit religious organization, and find out more information about his 30 dependents. The text jokes are funny and all, but remember that this is the same GamePro that advertised a very real and extremely overpriced 1-900 number for tips and tricks in the same issue. Have I ever mentioned that life before the internet was intolerable? Okay, the 1998 advertisement decided to take aim at Sega with the Sega Do Wrong system. You bought a Sega system because it was the first 8-bit console. You bought a Sega Genocide because of the great games. You bought a Sega CD because of the capabilities of CD music and graphics. You bought a Sega 32Y because you're an idiot. And hey look, more game parodies. The Do-Wrong plays Burning Power Rangers. Street Fighter vs. anyone with a chip on their shoulder. NBA Dead 98. Sim Heaven's Gate. Sonic R, you kidding? Dead or Alive or Comatose. Black Panzer Dragoon Saggy. And Resident Freakin' Evil, the director's cuss. Ugh, they really phoned it in with this ad, huh? So, we got 2 fake ads in the 1999 issue. Up first is GPB, a new GamePro fragrance making fun of Calvin Klein's popular bee spray. When you wanna smell just like a sweaty game editor, it says. Hey, I already smell like that. This is indeed lame, but once again we get pictures of the GamePro editors. Also lame? The Rumbleware underwear. It's basically a rumble pack for your crotch. Yeah, that's a funny idea and all, but didn't EGM post the same joke? Yes, they did. On the plus side, Rumbleware comes in large, extra large, and Pimp Daddy. Folks, I think we've been advertised to enough. Let's move on to the final section of LamePro. The one thing you've heard me repeat throughout this dissection is how much I love seeing pictures of the GamePro editors. That may seem like an odd point, but you have to remember that readers almost never saw the editors' faces. They were always represented by hand-drawn avatars, and with the exception of some of their convention coverage, the GamePro staff rarely appeared in the flesh. But LamePro gave them the opportunity to break free of those cartoon characters and show their faces. And that's one of the reasons why I really like how they concluded their April Fool's prank in 1993. In a section called The So-Called Pros Exposed, we get fake behind-the-scenes information about 4 of the most popular critics. We find out that the Weekend Warrior used to be a couch potato, Dr. Dave isn't a real doctor, the Unknown Gamer glows in the dark, and Slow-Mo used to steal quarters in the arcade. Unfortunately, the photographs were replaced in 1994 with more artwork avatars. We find out that Rampant Saxon is now a lounge singer, Sister Sinister had a sex change after a hunting accident, Bubonic Blowfrog tried to start up a fast food chain selling curly flies, Ottermatic got caught up in the Iran-Contra scandal and is currently in prison, and Linoleum Blown Apart works security at the World Trade Center. Ah yes, the World Trade Center bombing jokes. We heard a few of them last year when I read through every single What If joke published in Electronic Gaming Monthly. Yeah, 1990s game editors sure did find terrorist bombings funny. When it comes down to it, I don't find LamePro to be all that funny. There are a few silly parodies and clever quips here and there, but a lot of it makes me cringe so hard that I just lose control over my entire body. Perhaps my favorite thing about these LamePro issues were the covers, which were usually well done and had a lot of fun chiding both GamePro and the competition. At one point it becomes Ultra LamePro 2. And folks, we haven't even gotten to all of the consoles they parodied. There was the Genocide, the Sneeze, the 3D Oh-Oh, Neo Creole, Turbo Fool, the Pretendo, the Jinx, CDI, Jugwire, and both Lame Boy and Lame Gear. Are these funny? No, not really. But they were memorable. If nothing else, LamePro was memorable. And so is this picture of a guy with controllers and games all over his body. I couldn't figure out where to put him in this analysis, so I'm just gonna stick him here and hope that nobody notices. You're welcome. Happy April Fool's Day. Hey, thanks for watching us analyze all of LamePro in the 1990s. If you liked what you saw here, then you should know that we post a lot of content about old magazines. Now, here's the question I have for you. Was LamePro funny or not? Let me hear your full thoughts in the comments below. Also, if you still want more April foolishness, then I've got you covered. There should be a link on the screen right now for you to check out Electronic Gaming Monthly's many pranks, as well as a reading of every single What If joke published in EGM. I brought up both of those in this video, so they're well worth checking out for full context. Anyway, we'll be back shortly with a bunch of reviews. And in the meantime, I strongly recommend you click that subscribe button and support what we're doing here. Until then.